Welcome everybody to the May 11th Planning Board, Duxbury Planning Board meeting at the center. We started this meeting at 6 p.m. But to have somebody read our blurb. Would you like to take care of that, Steve? Thank you.
I will, sure. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, excuse me, and amended as of March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy by remote means and according to please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated to interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by using Zoom login information in the agenda. Viewers can visit https://media/Duxbury about Duxbury programming, including streaming and watching replays on Duxbury YouTube.
Very much. All right, under our first agenda item, we have some administrative items. The first is minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the the April 13th and the April 27th minutes.
So,
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a roll call vote to approve the April 13th and April 27th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstention. So that's four ayes and one abstention. Thank you. Moving on, we have 5 ZBA cases. Since we are a referral board, I would actually recommend that we refer them as a batch to the ZBA without comment, unless I'll entertain you.
So moved.
Just any discussion, does anybody want to talk about any in particular? We have 2 gentlemen who are here about their cases. We could apart, but we could go either way. We could let them go right away, or we could ask them. And then, raise it there. So, any thoughts on that?
I'd like to hear a little bit more about the Bow Street project. We're looking to have the law office out there again.
Sure. We have. I'll stay seated.
Sure, that's fine.
Yes, can tell us who you are and your address.
Justin Duplo, 125 Bow Street. We have about an acre, like most parcels. But we abut Bow Street where the address is. Tremont Street on the backside, where the property used to have an address. It was redeveloped and then the frontage of Bow. So there's still driveway back there. And we also have frontage on west. So it's like that triangle. We have been working hard on the property for about 4 years. Feels like I'm at it full time. I really think I am or more. The big project was to rehab an old barn that was on site. It used to be, it was a familiar thing in town because it's right at the corner of St. George and Tremont where the light is, so I think it was commercial. The barn was used maybe as a real estate outfit. I think even before that it was fixed bars. Eventually, it was moved and shifted on our property, and when they built our house in 2012, it was given a new foundation, siding, and roof, but it was still a barn. So we have, over the last year, converted it to what is effectively an ADU, but we have no kitchen in there. It's just kind of like a lounge, an office, bathroom. And I'm working on the hardscape now, a walkway and then a gravel drive with a cobblestone apron that is on 3A. And there'll be a gate, which swings open over the apron. The request that I have from town is that I'm able to put a sign by the gate, which has my name. I go by J, so it's J Duplo. And then it says attorney under that and 125, the address. The sign, I don't know if you have the papers. Yeah, there's probably a picture in there. It's like a granite post and then a wooden sign designed to be made by Dave Hassan in Cohasset. And I've requested that it be illuminated. I'm basically asking for the whole lot with the hope that maybe I can get something added that, so people can find the location basically, because there's some confusion about. Do you go to the driveway at the front where the main house is, do you come to the back where the second driveway is, where the barn is? Just to make it clear that this is where I would see people, would be at this structure, at this gate. That's the long and short of it, other than to say two things, I don't see clients very often. These days, most of the work is remote. Couple times a year, maybe a few times a year. And the other thing is that in that space, there was somebody who spoke at the design board's hearing last week. Was talking about having a sign, effectively a commercial sign in a residential area. And I think we're like, maybe like across the street from the commercial line. Because you've got Millbrook, it's all Millbrook coming up that hill, and then you go down to Cox Corner. So we're kind of just right in all of that, and it was, sort of proposed that a sign in that area would be a new sort of feel. But there are dozens of signs, all kinds of things. With addresses, the names of people's homes, street signs, commercial signs related to the PFW, and the big Duxbury sign that says this is an historic district, you go this way for that, you go this other way for this other thing. So there's a lot going on there already. And I think it's an improvement of the property on the whole, so.
Very good.
Quick question,
Yeah,
does it comply with the zoning law signage?
I think that's why I'm here, right?
You're not here for, that's not us.
Right.
That would be the zoning board. That's the
Yeah.
zoning board's call. You're obviously a lawyer, you've read it, does it comply?
Yeah. I think that's why I'm asking for a special permit, right? Because I can't fit it in without the ask.
I think there are two things.
I'm not sure a special permit would do you. You might well need a variance.
So there's a special, he's asking for a special permit, but I think what, Jim is asking you is if the sign itself complies with there are guidelines within the planning about the size and so on. I think
Well,
that.
there's a couple of fairly long section in the bylaw about signs. I assume you're in a residential district.
Yeah, yeah. RC. I think the sign is. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I guess it's a simple question I'm asking. If you read the zoning bylaw on signage and do you comply?
I did read the bylaws. Oh, I see it. Yes, the sign complies.
Okay, that's a short answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if,
Right.
yeah, like if it was in a residential district, would the sign comply? I mean, if it was in a commercial district, would the sign comply?
That would be a different question.
I think
It would have to comply in a residential district. My pause as I listen to you is the illuminated sign.
Yeah.
But I'd have to go back and reread the darn thing.
I think the illumination is on the polar side of my asks. It's not really critical, but while I'm out there making a sign, I figure.
Can you clarify the illumination part? Is the sign itself illuminated or is there a light below shining up on it?
Yeah, it would be, I think it's a two-sided sign, it says the same thing on both sides, granite little wooden sign painted, and then, uplights at the bottom of the sign, small.
On a timer?
Could be, yeah, I don't have it in mind. My proposal for you, sure.
Any other questions? All right, so we had a motion to for all of these, so it sounds like maybe we have to, people, we should give everybody the opportunity. So do we take back the motion or we just continue our discussion?
This is, I consider this part of the
Okay,
discussion,
all right, great.
part of the motion, so
Okay, so then should we go ahead and just vote on this one?
I would be happy to.
Okay, all right, so why don't we do that? Any other questions for Mr. Duclos?
Could you restate the motion, please?
So now we're going to change the motion.
No, I said you're gonna restate.
Well, we have some people, some other people, so let's give everybody the chance to talk. So then I guess we will I'll entertain a motion to defer 125 Bow Street to ZBA without.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of deferring 125 Bow Street to ZBA? Let me rephrase that, ZBA case 2026-09 for 125 Bow Street to the ZBA without comment, say aye.
Aye.
Any,
I'll abstain, since I wasn't
Abstain.
here for the discussion.
okay, so we'll have one instead. Okay, all right, thank you, so good luck.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, so would you like to share with us a little bit about your two-story addition?
So I have a two-story addition, it's only 5 feet by 12,
Excuse me,
What address are we
I'm
talking
sorry,
about?
8 Mayflower Road,
Tell us your name
David Gooley,
and your address, even though it's not.
8 Mayflower Road, sorry.
All right. All right.
So we're proposing two additions, one is 5 by 12 feet. And that's gonna be a bathroom, we only have one full bath in the house now with a family of 6, so that's my hardship. And we have a screen porch that we wanna put on. And that is 9 feet by 11'5". So we got the sizes to stay, just to get the special permit, not go for a variance. And we meet all the setbacks from the lot lines, property lines. That's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions?
So why can't you do this as a right?
I'm at 15% right now. So of the formula with the extra 3%, I believe it is, because it's a 7,500 square foot lot, it's under 20,000 square feet. So I had the engineers figure out what I could put on it.
That sounds like a good question.
And it meets all of the setback requirements.
That's correct, I have 25 feet on one side, 15 on the other
So
one,
the only thing you need from the ZBA is exceed the 15.
that's correct.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to defer the ZBA case 2026-10, 8 Mayflower Road to the ZBA.
So
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of deferring this to ZBA?
aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Goodley.
Yeah, thank you,
Good luck.
yeah, have a good night.
Hi there. Are
Good
you
evening.
for a ZBA case?
Yes, John Rockwood for 286 Enterprise Street.
Okay,
Thanks.
get to that one.
Of course.
So this is another special permit to the ZBA. John, do you go ahead and tell us a little bit, tell us your name and your address and.
Sure, I'm John Rockwood out of Kingston. I'm here representing the homeowners for 286 Enterprise Street. Just here to answer any questions you have about it. We're doing a 2-story addition. If you're looking at it from the street to the left-hand side. We're gonna be going into the setback area. Using the existing sheds, non-conformity. So that we can expand their home by we're trying to get a bedroom on the second floor and a little eat-in kitchen. So we've come back, the sheds, I believe 5.2 off the lot line. The new addition will be 5.3 or vice versa. The shed's 5 point, yeah. We're gonna be a little bit less than the shed.
Is the shed living space?
No,
So you're basically gonna be expanding living space into the setback.
yes, correct.
Are you asking for DBA? Are you asking for special permit or are you asking for a variance?
Special permit. After talk with the building commissioner, Jim, and town council, we're able to use the existing sheds non-conformity to go for a special permit.
I'm glad I'm no longer in ZBA. You probably are too.
All right, any other questions?
Creative, but
Yeah. Any other questions? Nope, okay, I'll entertain a motion to defer ZBA case 2026-14 for 286 Enterprise Street to the ZBA without comments.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for roll call votes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, abstentions, motion carries. All right, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay.
All right, so then the other two outstanding cases are, hi, Mr. Cummings, are you here for a ZBA case?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. I was worried that I was only able to watch and now I feel a lot better.
Okay. Are you
No.
here in reference to a ZBA case?
Yes, it's in reference to the Clark's home. And it is, oh my gosh, where is it right here? It's at
It's either
Marshall
Marshall.
Street.
Okay, 287 Marshall.
Yeah. So am I able to share or not share?
Yes, you should be able to share.
Good, thank you. Is that good?
It's,
So far, good.
it's coming
Good.
up,
Okay,
but we don't see it yet. Hold on, here we go.
There it
Now we
is.
see it.
good. Okay. So, Lindsay and Colin came to me and they wanted to save their existing home, and that's what we specialize in, okay? Is in historic preservation and restoration. But what they do have is they have, if you want to call it a newer garage and additions with flat roofs in the rear. And then this is the sunniest spot of the yard. So what we wanted to do is to take the garage and move it to the opposite side of the property where it's shady. In that, the porch only wraps around one side in the front. So what we decided we really would like to do is to wrap the porch around all sides of the house on the front, right? It's a pergola and so forth. And so in doing that, we would remove a portion of the porch and extend the house to the right. Just do a little small extension to the rear, and again, remove the garage in the driveway to the left and relocate the driveway as a smaller driveway to the right. Just show you what the exterior looks like. So this is the existing house, and what we do is our drawings that are not colored are the existing portions, and the portions that are colored are new. Okay, so this is the existing house, and we'd add a dormer in the front to match the existing dormers, remove the asphalt roof shingles, put wood shingles on. Again, do a wraparound porch on all the sides to match the existing porch, and then replicate all the details throughout the rest of the home, the brackets, the windows, all wood windows, wood siding properly installed, carriage doors, things of that nature. That's the back of the house that no one will see, but they will. And then this is the side that has the not historic garage right now to the left, which is here, hidden behind bushes and stuff, I suppose. So now we have the wraparound and a nice porch and chimneys that are in like kind to the house. That's my speech.
Well, thank you. That was very thorough. I appreciate that.
You're
Does
welcome.
anybody have?
Oh, of course they do.
Oh, okay. We have some questions for you, Mr.
Why can't you do this as of right?
I'm sorry, what?
Why can you not do this as of right?
Oh,
Why do you go to the
thank
ZBA?
you. Thank you. And I'm gonna get in closer to this. I don't know why I just did that. This part of this porch does not exist.
Okay.
So when we go to do the wraparound porch, the existing porch is in the setback. So when we
So
go.
your problem is that you're expanding into the front setback,
Yeah, but no farther than the pre-existing non-conformity.
but you're expanding the size of the structure in the existing setback.
Yes,
Okay, that's what you did.
yeah. In doing so, also, in order to preserve more of the house, and that has to do with an internal thing, but to do staircases and so forth and not tear the existing roof off the house and so forth, the way it's structured, it makes sense to go into the setback with this garage, just the smallest slither, about like 16 inches by whatever. And again, what we do is we like to preserve everything. So we're trying to preserve the door openings, the window openings, the framing and the structure of the house. So once we knew we wanted to have that wraparound porch match the rest of the porch, and we needed to go to the ZBA, it made sense that we would be able to preserve more of the house by just having the garage go into the setback, that sliver.
And you have no problem, it doesn't look with any of the other setback requirements, simply the front.
That's it. And it all stems from us wanting to have the house attractive and have that porch
Yeah.
and the structure wrap around the house. And not look like somebody like, I don't know, ran out of money or stopped it short or whatever. Sort of name.
Gotcha.
So it's a special permit, not a variance.
Yes. So it's a betterment, not a detriment, and anyways, we just want it to look pretty from both sides when you're going up and down Marshall.
I think the variance.
I would have thought so too.
But unlike this ZBA apparently does grant variances, unlike some of its predecessors.
Any questions? Mr. Cummings, a couple of us, I'm not sure if you heard that comment, but a couple people here thought, a couple board members thought perhaps it would be a variance, but we don't need to solve that for you. Just know that that could come up.
Okay, the building inspector believes it to be a special permit because it's no more non-conforming. It is an increase in area, but at that point, then everything would be a variance instead of a special permit.
Okay.
Not everything.
Okay, all right. Well, we trust the building inspector.
No, it goes to the ZBA. That's
Yes,
why they're here.
that's exactly right. So any other questions or comments? All right, I will entertain a motion to defer without comment to the ZBA case 2026-12 for 287 Marshall Street.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a roll call vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Cummings. That will be deferred to the ZBA.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I happen to know that the architect for 13 Ocean Road Street is in a meeting, and so I don't believe that we have anybody for that property. So what, entertain a motion to defer that one without, comment.
So moved.
Second.
Also,
All those in favor of deferring, ZBA case 2026-12, I'm sorry, no, 2026-13 for 13 Ocean Road South, ZBA without comment. Say it.
Yep.
Yes,
Aye.
that's a motion. Aye. All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion passed. All right, thank you very much. All right, you're welcome to hang out. We're just gonna get into some other stuff.
I'm learning things, Paul.
Sure.
I'll exit.
Okay, do whatever you want. Now we're going to talk about, discuss the allowable size of the zoning bylaw subcommittee and possible vote to appoint Jim Lambert to subcommittee. So, we have any, pardon?
or I get my Monday morning.
All right, so this allowable zoning size of the ZBS committee, that can be any size, can it?
Yeah, my understanding from what town council said, is a subcommittee actually can be any size, you know, it's not a problem. If the subcommittee consists of a quorum of the original board or committee that created it, you know, of which it's kind of comprised, so to speak. It's not a problem if it's, you know, a majority or quorum of that board or committee, except of course, insofar as that means that, every meeting of the subcommittee then also becomes a meeting of, again, the board or committee that is comprised of, which I think we're already pretty much on top. I mean, that's kind of an awkward thing, but at this point, we're accustomed to that. We're on top of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think if it's going to continue to be the case that Jim Lampert's going to attend them and participate and so forth, then I think from a proper kind of, I don't know what to phrase it, from a proper kind of legal point of view, proper standards, whatever norms, it's definitely appropriate that he should be officially appointed to the ZBS. At the moment, he isn't officially on the ZBS yet. So yeah, that would be minor. Unless Jim, you wanted to sort of withdraw, you say you've had enough and you want to
Do
withdraw.
I get my Monday mornings back?
So any questions? Lauren or Matt?
Yeah.
So I guess, do we need to have a vote to appoint him, or can we just have it?
Yeah, I would think it is the vote, and then I guess we'll need to then, but it's pretty simple, but we just kind of officially notified. I guess we should officially notify the town clerk, and we'll add his name to the thing on the webpage, and I think because it's a subcommittee, Emily, you can correct me, like, he won't need to like get sworn in again and sign the form.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, for a subcommittee, I guess you don't have, like, I guess if it was another thing that he would have to. So yeah, I think, Emily can remind me if we're forgetting anything, but I think that would pretty much be it. We'll just submit a letter to the town clerk to inform them. Maybe also the town manager, that's pretty much about it. And obviously we'll change the webpage of the CBS to reflect that, and that's pretty much about it. And I suppose if you guys want, you could officially, maybe the ZBS would do this, officially decide if the ZBS actually has like a chair and a vice chair. At the moment, I think officially it doesn't have distinctions, right? You can call it socialist, I guess. There's no distinctions at all. In the numbers of the chair, vice chair. But it seems like it's working. In practice, it's working fine that way. So just stay with that. Yeah.
So how did the three of us, we just volunteered, right? So maybe we don't need to actually name him, we just ask him if he'd like to volunteer to be on the CBS. Officially.
No. Sure, obviously, I've been coming to whole meetings.
I know, now you're official.
Yeah, I guess technically he should give his verbal assent. So
Yes.
You have my verbal assent.
All right.
No involuntary sure.
I'm not sure of that.
I think we just voted on the day of you being an
I'll
animal.
nominate the Jimmy
Yeah,
as the
yeah.
zoning bylaw subcommittee.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, I'll call for a roll call vote to allow or appoint Jim to be on the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstentions?
Oh, something staying this one.
Oh, okay. All right, so
I
State's
think
voting.
propriety suggested.
He's official, thank you for joining, officially joining.
Oh, great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Great
congratulations.
to have you, Jim.
Yeah. You've got a lot of onboarding to do. All right, so next up is discuss the progress of the zoning bylaw subcommittee on the battery energy storage system zoning bylaw. So some of this, Lauren and Matt, is to bring you all up to speed, get some input. It was really helpful to have your input after their meeting in the kitchen after the select board meeting. So how do we want to lead this one? I think what we've been focusing on, maybe the last couple of meetings, is the tiers.
Well, I think it might be useful.
Yep.
Just to repeat for the record, and anybody who's here, what the present status is, what we are working with.
Okay.
And then if we want to get into what seem to be the big issues that still need to be discussed, because God knows there are a lot of them. But I think a status report for people who are listening is worthwhile.
Would you like to do that? Since you offered.
The zoning bylaw subcommittee has been meeting on Monday mornings for a number of weeks now. And working on what might be a bylaw that would take care of. Actually, at this point, we're basically largely involved in this. We've had drafts go around. We have discussed many of the portions of it. As for those people who are not familiar with the BESS situation, the state has a very strong policy in favor of BESS.
So we should maybe just clarify that what BESS stands for.
Good idea. Battery electric storage systems. Will that do?
It's battery energy.
Well, take your choice.
Okay.
But state has a very strong policy in favor of them. It is very much in the town's interest to have a bylaw that protects the town to the extent that state law allows in terms of where a BESS might be and to what safety largely safety-oriented regulations it can be made subject. At the moment, we have none. One of the results of having none is that the land court decided in a case involving the West Street application, now I guess a year and a half or 2 years ago. We have no controls, they can do what they want to. We don't like that situation. It's not healthy for the town, it's not healthy for any of us, and frankly, we'd like, among other things, to protect to the extent that we can. And I think it's also fair to say to give people who want to put something here know what standards they have to apply to or recognize and conform with. So that's what we're working on, is a best bylaw that hopefully would do that. We have gone through drafts. There are a number of outstanding issues that the subcommittee is still wrestling with. The issues involve such things as how far must it be set back from any other areas, particularly residential homes? To what extent do we permit smaller home bests inside your house systems? And what, if anything, should they be subject to? I think the general feeling at the moment is safety requirements, but other than that can be done as a matter of right. We then get into the question of, okay, now what about the bigger ones? And as the Carpenter has pointed out, you can kind of divide those into two categories. What would you call them? Commercial and industrial today?
Yeah.
Commercial is big and industrial is bigger. How do we handle those? How many tiers do we have? Tier 1 being the home, tiers 2 and or 3 being the commercial and industrial, and what requirements should a developer have to meet to build one of those, and more importantly, to operate it in a way that's safe for the town. So that is what we are struggling with. We have draft bylaw. It's not final by any stretch of the imagination. The last draft that I put together had an awful lot of red in it, where red represented things that we still had to decide. And that's roughly where we are at the moment. The goal, what's your goal to have this thing done?
I have it, try to wrap it up by the end of June.
Okay,
We're making a lot of progress.
we're clearly making a lot of
Making a
progress.
ton of progress, having a lot of really good
Yeah,
discussions.
what would anybody add to what I've said?
Yeah, Jim, I think you captured just about everything at a high level, and I think
And I assume if anybody ever wants to see where we stand or what we're circulating, you can get in touch with the planning director. These are all public records. He'll send them to you sometime when you're really having trouble sleeping.
and Jim, I just, again, you captured everything, I think at a high level very well. The overriding, I think, thing that you want to keep in mind with all of this is all of this is being done with the protection of the town in mind. Right now, we're exposed, as Jim indicated. They could pretty much go anywhere, and there could be very little limitation on what they would be able to do. And so that's really the intent behind doing this, is really to protect the interest of the town, protect the interest of any residents who might be affected by one of the projects that can conceivably built, near their properties. Protecting it for things like distance, noise, in the event of an emergency, in that way. There's a lot that goes in there. We're borrowing from other towns. They've prepared bylaws and put them in place in other towns. We've taken a look at those. We're borrowing from the good ideas that they have, and in many cases expanding on them as well. So we think we can do even better. That's why we're taking the time to do this. And make the right way.
I think that's a good point, Steve, because this is also new, and there really isn't a blueprint that's why we're looking at other towns to see what the AG has approved, to give us some guidance as we try to put ours together.
This is very unlike the MBTA.
Yes.
The MBTA, the Attorney General's office, and I may be slightly unfair to them, basically approved almost anything with a wink and a nod. That is not what they're doing here. They have thrown back bylaws that they think are too restrictive.
And Jim, I think it's important to note too, just as a general point here. Whenever we would modify the bylaw, the zoning bylaw for the town of Duxbury, the town would pass it first at town meeting. But then the Attorney General from Massachusetts, the Attorney General's office, reviews the bylaw that we pass to make sure that it's in conformance with state law, and other regulations. And then if it isn't, they would deny, they would reject it, let us know why, or they would approve it, and then we would be able to allow it to remain as part of our bylaw. If they came back and rejected it, we would not have protection of the bylaw. So that's why what we're doing is making sure that we're reviewing the other bylaws that other towns have passed, you know, the AGO has approved, to make sure that we have as great a likelihood as possible that the AGO will approve what we wind up submitting to the town for a vote.
And they have rejected quite a few. And the response to that usually is the town redoes it, presumably in consultation with that section of the Attorney General, municipal law section of the Attorney General's office, until they come up with something that the AGO accepts.
Yes.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I think the recap is pretty good. You know, I just want to put on the table and mention that in addition to, you know, procedures and policies, permitting, special permits, and practical matters and things like setbacks and other compliance criteria, one of the aspects of this that we're trying to remain cognizant of is the impact on our budget, fiscal impact of these operations. And we've discussed issues surrounding what kind of revenue opportunities the town would have. Those don't bear directly on the bylaw, yet they're intertwined. There are negotiations which take place in the pre-application phase and during the application phase where certain agreements, the town would have the opportunity to cast certain agreements for part of it that's kind of on the side.
And those are important because being sure that someone who is developing or operating a site complies with the bylaw will require expenditure of quite a lot of town time if the town doesn't have to hire a special helper to go through the work. This is not going to be free from the town's point of view to make sure that the rules are followed.
Is there anything we can ask Lauren and Matt if we need help? I think there are two big things that we're working on and other things will follow that. One is the setbacks. And we've been kind of leaning toward what we've seen with the AG approved in other towns with 200 feet. So we're thinking about incorporating that at the primary, with the two, what we're thinking right now is we're trying to decide between 2 and 3 energy tiers. The first should be like a residential, like a Tesla power wall. So that would just be, the underlying zoning would be, that would just be based on the underlying zoning of the property. And then the next one would be tier 2, and that one we would think would be more restrictive.
And then the question is whether we add a tier 3 that would get into the big best provisions. And I circulated to people today a number of thoughts that I and also some AI sites had as to what additional requirements might be imposed on a really big site. Which can you, for example, get away with a bigger setback? We figure we can 200 that has been approved by the AGO for some sites. I think there is a feeling that if you really have a monster site, we'd like more than that. We clearly need very strong noise regulation if you get to a big one. One question we are struggling with is whether at a tier 3, the developers should be required to complete and give us an environmental impact statement. Because a big one causes a lot more potential impact than the small. Lots of issues still we're struggling.
And then the other question is, well, what determines those levels? Energy wise.
Does Duxbury have any properties that could qualify for that level 3 tier?
No, not right now.
Without knowing what the requirements exactly will be, I don't know. Frankly, if you look at Duxbury right now and look at the realities, my understanding is that someone who wants to build one of these wants to be near a good road, They very badly need to be near the grid so they can easily connect into it. They would be very happy to be near to the substation. Because the longer, farther away from any of those, the greater their cost will be, often by a very large number. There may well not be many sites in town that a developer can find attractive. The one that kind of would come to mind as you drive around town would be as you come off the highway at Route 14, where you already have the substation and some other stuff, but that's getting pretty full, and there was just a lot of homes built right next door to it. So who knows what a developer would find as an attractive site in Duxbury?
So your environmental impact study, I'm gonna put my developer attorney hat on.
Please.
The results of which give the town the right to deny the special permit?
We haven't written that yet, but I think basically if it's not satisfactory, the town would need that.
Wouldn't the AG then find that's too discretionary and maybe kick that back?
Sometimes you may have to run the risk.
Yeah.
But I think this more legal answer to that is probably to make the standards of the environmental impact statement clear. I mean, if it says standard, they need a statement and it must meet these standards.
Yeah.
You'll get by with it. They will not like anything that gives us discretion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Who writes that statement? Who writes that statement? Is the developer hiring someone or are we hiring someone?
Not decided by what I would guess is that we would want control over that statement, but they get to pay for it.
Fair, yeah.
The only other couple of things I noted, when you have, you define special permit, you don't have it being applicable to the tier 3 level. That might just be a typo, but it says the operation of a tier 1 or tier 2 BES.
Yeah, most places.
The definition of special
Did I
permit.
dropped, I missed putting it in tier 3 there.
Definition of special permit.
Page 6.
Oh, page 6, sorry. What did she ask me what page? Like I'm at my house, nobody can. I selective hearing.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. Duly noted.
And Jim's been trying to add.
Yeah.
4 and 4.3 to each one. That's.
And in the financial assurance,
Yes.
What
definition,
page on?
page 5. That's still in red.
Yeah.
Do you want to put a minimum creditworthiness of who's issuing the bond or?
I think that's back in the financial assurance section.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I.
There is a financial insurance section when we get back here.
Starting to put this together.
Section 10.
Was asking
Right.
AI.
Not that I
about
remember.
that, but I think it'd be right.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Acceptable forms, corporate guarantee.
It's like 21, page 21. now.
Page 21.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If I missed something for crying out loud, let me know. You write more of these than I do.
You know, actually, now it occurs to me with some of these things environmental impact statement or some of those types of concepts. Now, at this point, we might actually be overlapping with these new rules for clean energy siting. Because if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but if I remember correctly, there's something in there about, for larger projects especially, there might be something that they have to do that's kind of a little bit similar to that, but probably on a smaller scale or that's not as big a statement, perhaps, not as big a report, but a little bit of similarity perhaps. So as we continue with this, we may want to.
This is the new 225 CFR. What you're referring to?
Sorry, what number did you?
I think it's 225 CFR.
I can't remember. That's,
If you do, you're doing better than I do.
yeah, but it's basically called like the new.
It's a new.
Clean energy siting and
Yeah.
clean energy siting and permitting regulation.
Yeah, I have not checked this against that. I don't think I doubt they're in conflict with listening to.
I agree, yeah. I guess one other thing I just mentioned is that I think Kristen, I think your idea makes sense to try to get this wrapped up by the end of June. I think even if at that point, maybe there's still a few things we're not sure of, or a few things we're thinking like adding or tweaking, it'd make a lot of sense to at least kind of get to a stopping point where we've got a completed thing, even if it could have a few things changed later. So that then we will have it ready to show to town council, because there could be certain things that we're not aware of yet. The town council is just gonna say, oh, you can't do that. Like And so we don't necessarily want to spend too much work on a lot of it before we check with town council.
Yeah.
Because there's good sense that this could be in vain anyway.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
it does. We might.
I have a call planned with town council. She's seen the present draft, really just to ask Amy and Jeff, are we all based somewhere? We're running into a problem. Give me a warning now so we don't go down this road.
Yeah.
That conversation will probably take place sometime this week.
Oh, okay, well, then it's. You're ahead of me
Yeah, Renee gave me permission.
then.
Yeah, Matt, do you see anything else? That's financial security section, because I think the last time we talked, you and Lauren were talking about pros and cons of the line of credit versus a bond.
What we got is an irrevocable, it would include a performance bond, cash escrow, or irrevocable standby letter of credit. Plus, we could approve a specific thing. Heaven knows what it might be. I'll take Matt's and Lauren's advice on that.
I don't know what that other form of security would be, but
Even though I,
someone could get creative, but it's subject to the town, subject to approval.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we'd probably want it, and this is kind of what the advice I've gotten from whatever, our finance office. Is that we wanted to, at least if, I mean, sometimes there are state laws that say towns have to accept 2 or 3 different types of financial surety. But otherwise, we'd probably just want it to be an escrow bond, because that's just so much more, I don't know, we got cash in hand or whatever, but yeah, that way you've actually got the account, they're actually giving you a check. As opposed to insurance things that have to be renewed every year, in which case it's almost inevitable to be forgotten, or other kinds of bonds and I don't know, insurance type of sureties that are less certain. There's just a lot more certainty in receiving that actual, you know, being able to actually receive the check and open an escrow account.
and what the draft provides at the moment is an irrevocable standby letter of credit. A performance bond would obviously have to last for all of the effective periods, and cash.
Not to get too much in the weeds, would the cash be placed, do we want to specify whether it's in an interest bearing or non-interest bearing account, so that at the end of a 3 or 4 year project, the developer doesn't come back looking for 5% interest or 4% interest from the town?
Yep. Good
So
point.
cash escrow and a interest.
What about interest?
I would ask the town finance people what they would do.
Yeah,
Would they typically
that's
put that in a non-interest bearing, I would think, or an interest
No,
bearing?
that was specifically mentioned.
It would be interest bearing, and who would retain the interest at the end?
In the town, is that allowed?
I don't know if that, I don't imagine
Can it
it's
be
allowed.
dedicated
Good
to
question.
some not-for-profit?
I don't know.
But I guess if the developer defaults, then I suppose the town can keep the interest, I
Right.
suppose, but
Yeah.
otherwise probably goes back to.
I would think that's right, but it might be a question for Amy on that one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that one, Jim.
I made the note.
And on the letter of credit, I just had a couple of thoughts. The irrevocable standby letter of credit, do we want to specify the letter of credit should also be evergreen?
That's what I was just gonna say. I think you should.
What?
Evergreen, meaning it automatically renews.
Noted.
I think that would be much appreciated, because it sounds like then you're not dependent on town employees to remember every year. Or some other person.
Vanishing security, letter of credit, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's massive.
And then if we say, US Bank rated A- or better, we probably want to specify also. That it would be rated by Moody's, Standard and Poor, Fitch ratings.
Who's best, Moody or home?
And so, I mean,
Any of the big 3, I think we do.
yeah, my loan documents will always have all 3.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And just tell me sometime who they are.
Yeah. Now, the financial security really comes into play in a default or a decommissioning perspective, right?
Default in construction.
Yeah, default in construction.
Default in construction,
Yeah.
you walk away from an operating.
Yeah.
Or during decommissioning.
Decommissioning. So would you say the minimum security should be 125% of the total estimated cost, updated every 3 years?
Yeah, I've seen that, that's, I've seen that number.
I think that's fine, but
I
what-
think it's a good one.
I think it works, yeah, but when you say estimated cost, are we thinking the estimated cost to build it or the estimated cost, as Lauren brought up in the last meeting, to decommission it, which may be significantly more expensive?
I think we have a different section for the decommissioning.
Yeah, that's a different vehicle, as I understand it. Yeah, commission fund.
Where's that?
Well, you may actually need different levels at different
Mm.
periods of time.
Because you brought this up at the last meeting, if we get to a decommissioning perspective and they've gone south, the cost may be significantly,
Decommissioning
Higher.
is not inexpensive.
15 years from now, the cost to decommission it will not cover anything that it costs to build it.
right?
Or at sea. Silver decommissioning, over $1 billion.
Which one?
Silver.
Oh, yeah. Right. Stay away from the news. Is it Fox? Fox News? I think I saw you went for it.
Yeah, mainly my wife, she's
Yeah.
the expert on this.
Yeah.
So do you typically have one chunk of surety security for everything? Or like the building, somebody walking away, decommissioning, or would we see a different?
I think you really only have one surety,
Okay,
right?
so it covers everything?
Yeah, yeah. The hard part is, what's that cost that you then calculate the 125% of?
Right,
That's the tough part.
is decommissioning more than building it?
Certainly, yeah.
Absolutely, okay.
And there's
So then
a
it's
time
just
factor
based-
here.
Yeah, just inflation alone,
Got a
right?
time
Yes.
factor that
Yes,
really.
absolutely. So is the decommissioning is gonna be the most expensive part? Okay, so then maybe base that number on that.
Well, is there anybody? Is there, like, we rely on the town engineer for a lot of the projects.
Yes, a peer reviewer.
Is there a peer reviewer that this can come in that could give us a educated estimate of what the decommissioning cost could be?
I'm sure there must be some, peer review experts out there, who could do that. I mean, it might be something that our normal peer review engineer.
The otherwise, we're just going off of what the developers estimate costs, right? And
Yeah.
they're not gonna wanna
Yeah, I mean,
be too generous.
yeah, definitely my previous experience with the solar project. There was a pretty big divergence between what the developer thought. was a reasonable figure for decommissioning.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would think you'd wanna have a sort of a neutral peer review
A peer reviewer,
person.
yeah,
And then, of course, I mean, but definitely where it gets difficult, it seems to me, is precisely what Lauren and some of you were saying, like, who's to guess what that cost will be 20 years from now, in terms of inflation or how supply chains are gonna raise expenses.
I think you've got a 3-year look back, right, or a 3-year renewal on them?
Yeah.
But we could certainly, well, somebody tell me, I don't see any reason, if we have these numbers, we can't have all of them subject to adjustment for inflation and say 3-year notes.
if we had somebody look at it, if it was adjusted every 3 years, wouldn't that catch it?
I mean, I would say,
Where are you?
on page 22. The minimum security amount shall be 125, updated every 3 years and increased as appropriate. Right, to put them on notice that at that 3-year period, I know it may be implied, but that the town has the right to require an increase to the amount of financial security for each 3 years. That way they can't come back and say, well, you said you were gonna review it, but you never said.
You would
You're gonna
change it.
increase it.
Does the interest that it creates go to that percentage, the escalation fee basically?
I don't know, I mean, if I was the developers council, I would say all the interest that just accrued should be counted towards any required increase, but if I was the town, I would not want to do that. Because if you default, then all that interest can be used to whatever shortfall may be in the cost for the town. I mean, at the end of the day, the last thing the town wants to do is be decommissioning any of these projects.
It does.
Yeah, hire somebody to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think DPW will take over that fast.
Well, what if we said something like the interest would go to the town for use and to cover any costs, or goes to any, if there's any unused funds, it goes to the CPA or something like that.
Well, I think that was the question for Amy. Any unused of funds or accrued interest that don't get used, presumably have to go back to the developer, but I would,
This it talks about the minimum security amount.
yeah.
But remember that security, only one of the three categories is cash.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
it's not-
unless it's a cash, this is maybe a unnecessary
Yeah,
expense,
moot point.
and I doubt it will be cash.
Although they'll have to post cash with the surety anyways to get a performance bond, but.
Yeah, it's 10% these days.
Hmm.
What is a typical cost of bond these days?
I don't know. I stay out of that, those discussions.
So I guess, so we're talking about, you know, the decommissioning cost, so, and then we're looking at the 125%. In section 9, we have section 9.6, so this is where we have the operational financial assurance, so I think this deals with decommissioning costs separately. And so, it talks about, having an independent engineer, determining what the cost would be to.
What page you read?
I'm on page 38 of your May 7th draft.
Okay, you're back in the appendices, and this is
In the
one of the
appendix,
reasons
yeah.
they're there, is things that appendices have a lot more detail. Some of which we probably really want to include, but I have not thought through with you guys, to figure out what those might be.
Right, right. So I bring that up just to say that, we may have different standards for, for decommissioning than we did for other purposes possibly. And we've got some boilerplate here, that Jim, you painstakingly pulled together, that I think might help to inform what we look at.
I don't. I'm torn here in two different directions. One of which is a bylaw that isn't too long.
Mhm.
The other of which is ensuring that the bylaw has the detail where it really gets to be important. And finances may well be one of those where we want to nail it down very, very hard, because this town can't take a hit the size that this could turn into.
Mhm.
But it's a question raised for discussion.
No. I agree.
Choose, if you go back into the 40 pages of the attachments as opposed to 25 of the bylaw, some of those we may want to pull forward and put in, because they're sufficiently important that we don't want to leave any questions open.
Mhm.
But that requires everybody flogging through and deciding what goes on.
So we have different budgeting concepts here, one of which would be the length budget, if you will, of the bylaw. And how much of the financial portion, how much of the length budget that should occupy.
Yeah. I don't think we want a 65-page bylaw,
Yeah, goodness, yeah, right, yeah.
but if we have to go to 30 or 35 to get it in there. And one of the things I want to ask Amy, if no one has already, is if it gets to be long, where is the AGO going to start to raise its hackles? I hope, but I don't know, that when you get into the later boilerplate, they're going to be less likely to be disturbed than they would if you've got the earlier requirements that says you need a 1.5 mile setback.
Well, the more conservative the bylaw, the stronger likelihood it has of passing. Town meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
now people have to be. We talk about the AGO, but step number one is selling this to a town meeting that would basically love to have a bylaw that says you can't build
That's
something
right.
nowhere.
That's right. So it's a balancing act.
And Jim, one of the other concerns that you had regarding length is, if you go to the AGO with a 40-page bylaw, first impressions can be very influential. The AGO might say 40 pages. The overall approach that they may take is, I don't like this, and I'm gonna find reasons to express why I don't like it, yeah.
Maybe use a smaller font then.
So one question I really need to ask Amy, and I'll ask anybody's advice, My inclination, if I were doing this while I was still in active practice, would be go over to the AGO office and sit down with them. Long before I submit this thing.
Yeah.
That's,
There could be a lot of value there.
yeah,
That's, yeah, maybe you can talk with Amy about that.
Right.
Maybe they've already done it, they have with another client.
and I'm sure they've done it in a lot of different instances. You've seen, I've gone to the AGO with a number of questions before, and they've been quite responsive. If you're, it's typical, they got their job to do, you be straight with them, they'll be straight with you.
Right.
You guys have been proactive looking at other towns. How many municipalities are being proactive in putting a bylaw in place?
We've
Is
not
it a
found
large
many.
proportion of it? Not that many?
Yeah, I think we found 8 so far.
That's it?
Now, keep in mind, we were looking at that, right, we were in the heart right now of many other towns, town meetings.
Hmm.
So we're not aware of other bylaws that may have been proposed, that may have been passed. Certainly, if anyone was put in the past month or so, the AGO wouldn't have approved it yet, so.
And I don't know whether we even looked to see Lawrence, Lowell, Worcester, Boston, Cambridge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not much of, no, very good
You got-
comparative basis.
Yeah, lousy comparative basis in no room.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Most of those that we've looked at are other similar communities to Duxbury. Most of them are smaller, but they tend to be rural and or at best suburban.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. And you know, just from my experience, like I've been a subscriber to the Mass Planners. I've been on the Mass Planners listserv for a long time now. I guess the past roughly maybe 8 or 9 years. And it seems like it's really only been in the past maybe 6 months or so that I've really started to see, Tag, you can speak to this too, but like, messages, people sending messages, all these messages, and planners sending messages about best projects and best zoning and stuff. So it's been really interesting to see how it's kind of jumped on the radar screen in the past pretty recently.
People, I think, are beginning to realize as they read the decisions, what happens if you don't have a bylaw.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess the Duxbury, as it turned out, Duxbury kind of played a role in establishing.
Well, yeah, we certainly helped establish a rule along with the regret.
Right out the door of it. And I guess one thing to keep in mind, you had mentioned before, I was telling at the town meeting. Just that it seems like there are definitely some people, at town meeting or other things who kind of had the misconception of like, wait a second, why are you proposing a bylaw to allow, better energy storage projects in our town? And so that's just something we'll have to, try to hopefully explain to people and clarify to people, hopefully before a town meeting, try to reach out to as many people as possible so it's understood before a town meeting itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously we've got a good answer to that, it's just to make
Okay,
sure.
read the Duxbury decision.
Understand how vulnerable we are otherwise.
Any other questions, Jim?
There are thousands on them.
Okay. Super pressing for tonight.
No, not for me.
All right, great.
So is the plan to next town meeting is that the plan, get the finals and have it? So there would be a special town meeting for this. Nobody.
That's a good question, actually. There are towns that hold special zoning town meetings.
Hmm.
I assume they are sparsely attended only by people who go.
Yeah.
The problem is who can attend.
Right.
And my guess is, given Duxbury, you are very likely to have them attended by people who don't want to change anything.
Yeah. And my thought was, I hadn't thought of that was. You hang out in the wind for the next 10 months, till
Right.
no developer comes in, files
Right.
applications.
Right.
Yep.
But I think part of the goal, Matt, is to be ready in case we do.
Yeah.
And technically, anybody apparently can call a town meeting, a special. So if we had a couple of
Yeah.
things lined up, we could.
If somebody applies before we've got a record on the books, I think we're dead.
Yeah.
We don't get the benefit, oh, this is what we were working on.
No,
No.
Right.
So we want to be ready. All right, anything else regarding that? All right, what do we?
Well, on that point, I think, the thing that leaps to mind is the advice we've received from council is that if the town posts a hearing notice for a bylaw amendment, there's the operating presumption is that the bylaw is in force?
I think the answer to that is no. My recollection, understanding is that no bylaw goes into force until it's approved by the Attorney General.
But I think they go into force
Right after-
retroactively, so I think tag. might-
If they are in,
If it's passed.
okay,
If it's passed at town meeting, I think it's
Then
it's in force until, unless the AGO.
the AGO finally has to approve it, but I think simply a notice that you're working on it.
No,
To be at all safe, I think we need something that has been passed by town meeting.
Correct, yes.
I'm going to ask Amy about it.
What
not-
tag
not
that
my
actually, yeah, you
expertise.
can ask, what tag that actually kind of rang a bell in my mind, so I think it might be the case that once we've had the public hearing. But you have to check with Amy, she would know better than that one, yeah,
I'm not gonna guess on this one.
yeah.
No, that's the direct advice. It does have to pass down meeting, it does have to be approved by the AGO. If those two things happen, the activation date is the date of the public hearing.
Maybe.
No, I would say the activation date is the date it was approved to town meeting.
Yeah, that would be my view. I don't think the public hearing would have anything to do with it.
No.
Well, I know it sounds kind of crazy, because logically you'd think that it would be the date of, it was passed the town meeting.
Yeah.
But I have this vague memory that actually it might be the day of the public, but in any case, Amy Cressel will know, obviously, she'll know better than any of us.
Does somebody want to follow up with her? Would you mind asking her that question while you've got her, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's the presumption of passing. That's the term.
It's almost like a patent pending.
Kind of, yeah, you're putting the community on notice that this is coming down the pipe,
Yeah.
proceed accordingly.
If you want a long discussion on patent pending, that was my field.
Yeah.
I see you have a public hearing before town meeting. I guess we have the public hearing, but I guess you have to have something to actually, well, who knows?
All right, we'll get some more questions. Okay, so next up, discuss whether planning board fees should be altered. Does anybody have any strong thoughts on this? I was going to recommend that the planning department make recommending recommendations.
Yeah, my recommendation is definitely to keep the fees as they are. You know, we are definitely not, a major contributor to the town's revenues either way, so it's not gonna make material difference if we, we're increasing our fees 10% or lower or anything like that. It's just we make us such a small role, and the amount of sort of bureaucratic process you have to go through to change the fees, like, good if you have to hold a special hearing or this or that, but still, it's like, you have to do things and so forth. I just feel like I would definitely recommend just leave them as they are.
Could we show that the costs have increased to justify a fee change, because you can't make money off them? They're not revenue rates.
They're not, right. We break even?
They break even, so unless we could show an increase in the costs, I wouldn't even touch it.
And wait, do you recall the last time we changed them?
I think it's 2021.
It's a while ago.
5 years?
It was when Chris was here. Okay.
Probably been one, what's inflation since then, probably at least 15%.
Is there a way to,
With American Cares.
determine if costs have gone up for any of these? Photocopying, or does he have to send it out, or does it?
I think that would be hard. I mean, I'm not aware that towns are generally required to sort of prove that the fees precisely, maybe kind of roughly, but not in any precise sense where you have to it varies so much from project to project, and of course, it's always, most of this stuff is sort of gradually going up, the cost of photocopying or the cost of peer review. But I don't think we could really be a lot of work, and I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think you could really demonstrate in any precise fashion. Anyway, it varies so much from project to project.
Didn't know if maybe there was just something where you could say, oh, yes, this paper has gone up or something.
Yeah.
If not, then fine. That's.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions about these?
Well, I think my question is, as we always do, have we done a survey? Do we know if we're an outlier? Are we right in the middle of the pack with the towns around us? That's usually a marker.
Yeah, so I think I believe you guys asked me to do a survey of that. Maybe 6 or 8 months ago. It was a while ago, and If I remember correctly, it's been a while, but if I remember correctly. And I'm not sure if it was for precisely the same thing, but I think it was just for some kind of fees we had. And I think our fees were, you know, pretty well aligned with other towns, maybe even a tiny bit higher, I think. I think the conclusion I came to was there was no reason to change them. And I just can't recall if that was for these precise fees or different fees that we have, but it all kind of overlaps anyway.
Looking at the treasurer's memo, the two big questions strike me. Do the fees cover the cost of services? They quite clearly are allowed to do so. And the other is, probably, are they in line with what everybody else is doing? Just as a matter of, frankly, not sticking our head up too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's necessary to go beyond that.
And as far as the cost of services, a lot of that is really more maybe the cost of my time and Emily's time. Like it's not, I mean, of course, some of it's like the cost of making photocopies and that stuff, but more of it is really a bit less tangible perhaps, or, you know, it's like, I guess you calculate how many, you know.
Do you charge people who want photocopies? Cost of copying?
Not, I guess it depends, but if it's part of like the application process, we probably we would not, so, you know, if it's just part of our cost of like. Handling an application, you know, they give us an application and we have to make copies for their departments, we're certainly not going to charge you for that because it's understood they pay the application fee.
So the application fee is intended to cover that.
Yeah, I mean, once they pay the application fee, then the burden's on us to do, I mean, with the exception maybe of the mailings or the limited, I mean, it's obviously then the peer review deposit's a different thing entirely, but they pay the application fee, then it's our job then to do everything that then falls on us, like maybe making copies or sending emails to other departments and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
So the analysis, does the application fee cover those costs?
Yeah.
Newspaper posting costs, such like that? Who pays for the peer engineer reviews? Does that get passed on to the developer? It does, that was.
Yeah, I mean,
I assumed it did, but.
yeah, and then at the end of it, if there's any left, we have to eventually return it.
Like the school committee spends all of
Yep.
the last 3 days of the school year.
No, they are. in Duxbury.
Oh, that's right, sorry, yeah, sorry.
Any other thoughts? Sounds like we're okay with digging.
Yeah, the only other thing I'm gonna mention, and this is not immediate, but it's in the background. When we look at inclusionary zoning, cluster zoning, and all these other things, a lot of the language used by the state and the suggestions are that one of the incentives is to rebate the fees.
Rebate.
Rebate the fees, you know, if you do some extra affordable, you pass on some fees, that type of thing. That's actually a stated policy suggestion. And so my thought there is that if the town were to enter into such a policy, does that factor into the way we set the fee? Because you still have to cover the cost of business, so if we're rebating the fees on some percentage of applications, we actually need to increase the fees by that percentage in order to stay revenue.
Well, right now for inclusionary and affordable, there's no fee.
Well, there you go. So
Oh, interesting, yeah,
There's a standalone fee of 500, but nothing compared to some of the other ones for $1,000. You have to pay for the cover. You have to provide the certified of others list. Residential cluster is a little different, so that might open space residential developments need to be. When we get to that, we can always revisit that. That would help us remember. Okay.
Matt, let me ask this question. You get complaints on the size of the fees?
Not at all, not in my experience, no.
Then I wouldn't worry about it.
All right, any other discussion on that? All right, well, thank you, Matthew and Emily. Feel free to tell treasurer that we are fine with the fees.
Great.
All right, next one, the two are kind of tied together. One is how to discuss how to create a visual representation of the comprehensive plan and its implementation action items. This is a specific request from the select board when we were there. And the second is to actually talk about the planning department, the planning board, the planning department's implementation items. So with the first one, when I asked the board, well, how would you like to see like a report card? What would you like to see? And Fernando's report was, can we have like a traffic light, red, yellow, green? And that sounds great visually. I get that. I haven't figured out how to do it though. Because when you start to look at there are, if I think we have 2, 4, 6, 8, like 10 different categories. And then we have different items and they have different priorities. So how do we kind of rank those? How do we do that? Anybody really good at these?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, this is a subject near and dear to my heart.
Project
Workflow, task item status, and the model was set up like this.
Yeah.
So it's A through F for the status. You can boil that down to something simpler like red, yellow, green. You might need brown, gray, or something like that for the ones that are
Right.
really off the table. So yeah, possible.
Because I started playing around with it. I took like open space and recreation. So I think we have 5 items. And 2 are priority 2 and 3 were. No, they're all priority 1. We have 2, we have 5 total between either 2 on Tech Duxbury's water source resources and 3 under preserved unique semi-rural character of Duxbury. So I thought,
That's a nice simple. That is a nice simple one that anybody can write.
right. I thought, well, what if we had like not started at all? Those are bad. And then partially completed, that's yellow, like in process, partially completed and completed is green. But it's hard because we have these priorities. So how do you measure it? Is it by, because some of the tasks are very complicated, some are very easy. Is it just number of tasks that are or are not done in process?
Let me throw out that this thing is I printed these out, it's 11 pages long.
Yeah.
And a lot of those require zoning changes,
Yes, yes,
which does not make the task any simpler.
right.
And decreases the likelihood, particularly if you throw many of them at town meeting
Yeah.
at any one time, they're not gonna go anywhere.
But still, we need to provide some type of an easy,
Maybe you divide them a little bit more, so there's a bucket of quick wins, something that you
Yes.
can check off the
I
bucket.
think that would be nice.
And then things that need to go to the zoning board have a different, category for it, with totally separate spreadsheet.
For anything that requires town approval should be at a different level.
Okay.
Like the zoning change.
No.
Requires town meeting approval. That's a whole nother pinnacle you need to satisfy compared to maybe some of the other more attainable changes.
I'm looking for the ones that are easily attainable and
Yeah.
basically free.
Right.
Yeah, quick wins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's cost money or any well received, but it's like,
The ones that cost money.
and if something costs money, where we are now.
Yeah.
You got uphill fight.
If we can find the money though for it.
But you can find grant money for it, so it
Yeah.
doesn't, but if it has to come out of anything approaching town revenues.
Non-starter.
It may not be dead on arrival, but it's in the ICU.
So even if we break them into 2, and like low or no cost or some cost and approval, or broke things out that way, how do we? Because if you look at this, there are categories A through F. As opposed to 1, 2, 3, I would have liked just 1, 2, 3, but how do we score them? How do we?
Yeah, well,
Because we don't want to go too crazy. We want it to be sort of an easy-ish experience, exercise. So because the select board and we would like to know, where are we? Are we at 5%? Are we at 55%?
Of what?
All
Of
the
A tasks.
Yeah, the tasks, how are we,
there's 11 pages.
right? Where are we? And where are all the other groups too?
I guess, I
Isn't
mean,
the
from
first,
my point of view,
isn't the first step, where somebody who understands this and is familiar with it, to go
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
and say which ones are low hanging fruit
Right.
that either have been or are very close to being accomplished.
Yeah.
You tell Fernando that basically there are 55 items on this list and about 10 of them are easy to accomplish and have been accomplished. A lot of the others, they take a lot more work.
Yeah.
I think that's what he wants to hear.
Yeah, you're right. That's.
I mean, I was gonna say, I don't think it necessarily matters that much whether for a particular department or board, they've accomplished, 10% or 20% of all the different action items that were kind of given to them. It's gonna vary so much depending on all kinds of factors, and I think what's, I guess, more helpful and more interesting is just kind of looking at what they have and have not accomplished, but also even more so the comments that they write down in under the comments column, which so just kind of looking at the whole picture to kind of get a sense of what's been accomplished and why, and just to get a sense of kind of how the town is progressing, and especially maybe to compare in some cases across different departments. Because in some cases, we might be able to see, it's interesting that, recreation says this, and then DPW says this, and are they aware? Because of course, every department tends to be in their own silos, so we can say, are they aware that there might be a combination? Potential collaboration here, this is something interesting that I mean, in a sense, I'm kind of getting this idea from TAG, but like, we can see the big picture a little more that, through this comp plan process, we can see the big picture a little more than many other.
Oh, she's working on the comments 2023.
Okay,
So one of the things that, about this comprehensive plan that makes it very difficult to work with the action item list is that they're all over. There are some that are simple discrete tasks, which you can identify as something a person could do in a day or a week, and then there are others that basically have a whole project embedded in the series of steps, each one that has to be completed in sequence. So how do you convey the difference between a tiny item that's 50% done and a giant thing that's 30% done, but it's consumed 5 times as much effort?
Well, I think that's what Ron's saying, try and make that easy, put the easier ones or more attainable ones as easy wins.
Yeah,
Because I agree with you, Jack, you read this, when we were going for the election, like you read when we, whatever it was, put the election in for planning board seats. Read the comprehensive plan. This is worse than some law school textbooks that we got. All good and achievable, all well intentioned, but very cumbersome.
So my suggestion to Matthew was that rather than trying to do this bottom up, we need the data bottom up. The top down perspective is, you look at the overall plan, it is organized according to thrusts, there are areas. So if we did the status per area, as opposed to looking at what is the planning board done with Concom done, that would orient everybody to the same view of the plan, and we would understand in what areas we are progressing and in what areas we're blocked. And I think that would be much more helpful for the select board level, get the lay of the land and sort of where the progress is and where the blocking is. Then add resources or maybe change priorities.
Will that unfairly put pressure on one group? No.
And that's about presentation, rather than looking at Matt for how we would present that, but yeah. Good.
well, looking at this thing, there are about 20 items that somebody at one stage called priority 1.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of others that are down in priority 3. Why don't we start with priority 1?
I think I think the challenge is, yes, you want to know how are we doing in the chunks, the topics, but then also. If I was a select board, if I was running, I would want to know how to do that. How are my other department recreation, how are my other departments doing? So I think maybe it would be helpful to have it both ways. It's like, because I feel like there's a way to do this with certain formulas.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is.
Well, like I said, I'm privileged to work with a variety of tools, and these things are standard outputs in those tools. We just don't have a tool, so having to do this by hand,
Yeah.
you know. Such too labor intensive to.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the amount of labor to try to take all this stuff and then put it into Excel or any other or more sophisticated tool. It'd just be a massive amount of time to try to, you know, enter it all in.
It's gonna be in Excel though.
Yeah,
And if you just make a pivot table, then you can. You can build it out, right? You can organize it before and shut things off. And so you can go to one department in each.
Well, I mean, I guess there's sort of different boxes are checked in Excel, so maybe there's a way, maybe there's a way of managing.
The layout doesn't do this up to that.
And it's also, it's like 30 or 40 different Excel. Spreads, books within the. Yeah, but well, at this point, they have, at this point, there are separate spreadsheets that still have everything brought within the worksheets, so it's just like. It's a mess, basically, it's a big mess.
it's actually a good exercise for AI, if you can come up with the right prompts.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's actually, I've done something
Yeah.
similar work, but I just haven't figured out like, what is the output? What do you want the output to look like? That's where if I can have a picture of that, it's your, figure out, what do we want to tell? Give it to do.
What's the most, which ones are the furthest along towards accomplishment? I mean,
Right.
that's the.
And how do we define low hanging fruit?
Yeah.
versus-
Could I ask a question, just looking at this spreadsheet, what does rate score mean? It's about 1, 2, about the 10th column over. It's just before the 2023 comments.
It looks like it seems to be the same as the priority. Time
I
frame.
have no idea, I have no idea what it means.
I don't know. Not to throw another wrinkle in, but when was that priority classification done? Because this permit, this comprehensive plan is what, almost 10 years old now?
Yeah.
So have some of those priorities switched? Do we want to focus on more like Lawrence, just get it, doing more, focusing not so much on priorities, but where completion of project or which ones are more able to be completed easily? I don't know. Instead of priority?
I wonder, should we just maybe, would it help if we focused on the planning board activities first, and that might, as we get more familiar, that might help us figure out how we will be.
What do you mean by
Report
planning
out.
board activities?
Pardon?
What do you mean by planning board activities?
Oh, we haven't actually, looked at these tasks as a group in a very long time. So we need to, we haven't provided any comments.
There were comments provided, what,
2023,
2023?
I think there were,
There is a column titled that.
yes, those ones were just marked as ongoing. But since I've been on the board, we really haven't added things, so I think that's probably what we need. Oh, there are comments from 2023, so we probably need to add comments for 2026.
and some of them do have comments, like 26.
They do.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think I think. We, or the planning department, or whatever the planning board went through this whole process in 2023 is my understanding, so. You know, all of the different departments and other entities were contacted, of course, some of them never replied, but about maybe 3/4 did. And so, yeah, so in a lot of these spreadsheets, things are put out for 2023, both in terms of, where they stood and the comments column as well. Which actually is really good because it's interesting to compare, what the comment is from 2023 versus 2026. Once they fill out that part, it's interesting to compare. And then, of course, in some cases, you can also see that something that was ongoing in 23 is now completed with that. That's super progress.
Yeah.
2023 comment.
Not the ability, the planning board items.
Scale.
I have my comments on it. So good. Paying attention to some arguments, but I don't know how you sort of
Actually,
attack it as.
well, I'm wondering, should we just go from top to bottom? Should we go? I do have a couple questions. One of the rows that are black,
The space. Bill.
There, it looks like there's text in there.
Might be, but I wouldn't worry about it.
One, I didn't know whether it was completed or we decided we didn't want to do them.
Yeah, I don't know, that's just the way it was when I got the file. So my guess is that maybe in some cases. Those action items were transferred to other departments or boards perhaps, but I really don't know.
One of the columns.
I think there are, some of the other. Spreadsheets of other departments also have occasionally have those black lines as well. So it's not-
And why are some of these rows colored?
Yes, that was my next question.
They're all artifacts of the way that the original
Yeah.
spreadsheet was formatted.
Yeah, there
This
probably
has
was a
been
reason
through
back then.
Many hands. I just have to state plainly that I did the original takeoff. There was a table. The end of the comprehensive plan. Which was horrific. All kinds of merged and combined cells, and I actually went through the whole thing and combed it out and normalized it and turned it into
This.
tabular data. But the copies you're looking at are not the work I did, so
Okay.
it's been taken off again and recirculated again. That original 225 item spreadsheet that I gave to Chris had everything on one page. So you could do things like pivot tables. But the first thing he did was break it out by owner and put 50 tabs, one for each owner, so he could hand out
Oh, interesting.
one tab to each
Interesting, yeah.
pay, which was necessary to support that workflow.
Yeah.
But it atomized the line sheet. We never got back to
I was
that.
gonna say, did it feed into the original individual? Oh, they don't feed into them.
So it's, I mean, Emily and I discussed this a couple times over the last few years. You know, the exercise is to go through all the individual submitted updates and correlate that update into the row in the master table. If we get back to that.
Yeah.
Data view. That's obviously wicked labor intensive. Yeah, now what I was hoping we would do, because this again is my experience, is load the damn things into a task manager. There's plenty of them out there. But most of them require a subscription fee and you have to sign everybody up as members and pay for their seat. So it's a pain in the butt. Once you go over 5 or 6 people, you can't do it for free. But that would be my suggestion, is that we actually put this in a tool, stop talking about it, stop throwing spreadsheets around.
Yeah.
And just do that, you know.
How much is that, you know?
Well, I haven't done a survey lately.
Where's it like $200 a year or like 2,000 or?
Depends on feature set and the vendor, how hungry they are, what they're offering. Yeah, moving target.
I think from my point of view. We have what we need, I think, in terms of all the responses that we've gotten. Well, we're still waiting on a few, but, and so to me. These ideas of, I don't know, creating, further. Ways of managing the data or trying to create visual representations. I feel as though it's just we're kind of just creating work for ourselves that we don't really need to do. I feel as though that what would be more productive is just really to look at the feedback we've gotten, especially the comments columns, and just to spend time thinking about it and see, okay, where do we stand and what do we want? What does this tell us about where we stand and what do we want to kind of propose for the future? And kind of what does it actually tell us and what are the insights we can glean from it? And then what do we want to kind of propose or kind of push for? What advice can we now give to the select board or to other departments? And are there certain things we want to say, these are the 3 or 4 things we should really kind of try to advocate for? Because obviously we can't just say like, okay, please finish the remaining 60% of your tasks or whatever. A lot of them have no longer become relevant. It's more about trying to sort of detect larger patterns and maybe home in on a few tasks and figure out, okay, these are some kind of guiding principles we want to go for now. Here are maybe half a dozen things we really want to advocate for. And then maybe certain action items kind of result out of that or are tied to that inherently. So I think that's, to me, it's what would be more beneficial path to go down here would not be so much to try to then say, okay, how can we enter 1,000 data points into this thing and further analyze this and massage the data or create visual representation, but just spend time reading all of the feedback we've gotten over and think about where we go from here with it. And I think we'll see a lot of interesting things as we do that.
I think that would be really informative, yeah, the select board needs they need a high level, they're asking for a high level view of where are we? That's sort of I feel like that's our job. Is to figure out, well, where are we with implementation, that falls under us, they wanna know, where are we, I get that, so. I think that's the challenge for us, I don't know, I hear what you're saying, Matthew, like, tell them, like, I think there could be a story behind the visual. What is the visual?
Yeah, I would suggest just kind of go straight to the story. And then we don't have to spend sort of all the kind of the hours of labor to create a visual that it's just gonna be kind of glanced at for 30 seconds anyway, frankly, it's just gonna kind of look nice, but it'll be glanced at for 30 seconds and it's like, you know, so I kind of just feel like, I mean, if we could create the visual in 5 minutes, that'd be a great story, but otherwise I just feel like it's better to just kind of go straight to the story itself, and use our judgment to kind of say what the story is.
So if I was gonna attack this, suggestion.
Yeah.
You said we have input, a lot of good input, I don't know if it's half, or 3/4, we have data. It's in lots of spreadsheets. We still have the master sheet. You go through the spreadsheets and read the comments and boil it down row by row, soon 50 rows. But what we need to do is characterize the tasks, that's what's missing. Characterize it, like doable or not doable.
Yeah.
You know, t-shirt size, small, medium, large, extra large, extra large.
Yeah.
These are the things that we use to characterize work. So without, you know, making it terribly complicated, you know, 2 numbers, size and status, you can get to the point where you could do something, maybe a report or a chart.
I was just counting. In the spreadsheet I'm looking at, I have no idea how up to date it is relative to everybody else's. There are 25 items in the planning board priority 1. Is that still an accurate reflection?
Yeah, but when I'm working with this 32.
Yeah, whatever it is, are those accurate reflections of priority? Because that's a hell of a lot of priority.
Do you think about one A, 1B?
Well, I'm just thinking basically, if, yeah, maybe well, you skip you skips from 1 to 3 to start off with, but what really are in the present day, and I don't have enough background on this board to be able to be much use telling you, or guessing. But if you had to go over these at the moment, which would you put as the really high priority? And which would you put farther down? But this doesn't do it. 25 number 1 and then skip to number 3.
Yeah.
Is not useful.
Well, should we maybe go down and just walk through them line by line to say, well, where are we?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do 10, see.
Which sheet are we looking at?
The one that's online, planning department.
Well, I mean, Emily, you're not able to put it on the screen, are you? I wasn't able to print it out.
You know, could we even see it across the room?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we can.
As a group, we may all need our readers, but yeah.
There. I have, yeah.
Oh, well,
That's great.
but if you want to share with that, I can read it on again and share with you.
I don't need readers yet, but.
Thank you. My address said I could get them, but.
Jim, I'm coming down to you here.
Okay. I don't know why, but I thank you.
Okay.
Blow that up if you need.
Just go with number. Do you see it? Does everybody see that?
I asked police to use the action ID, that's in the common reference.
Where's that? Oh, yeah, okay, sure. Okay, so 2F, F2 is action ID set 0 for O, 0271.
That's just the first one on the spreadsheet, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
The kind of the top row.
All right, so the action is to support implementation of the recently completed Duxbury Climate Vulnerability Assessment and Action Plan. And part of that is to identify natural resources in Duxbury that are vulnerable to the effects of climate change. So that was done with the vulnerability assessment plan. That was done in 2021, I think.
So what are they?
That's a whole other report.
Sorry.
Identified, so they've been identified. Was that? Yes, and the plans, so the comments for 2023 are planning board as a member on the newly created coastal resilience task force, or CRTF, is using the plan as their framework for action. So I would agree with that assessment. That's kind of.
Who is the member?
Technically, it's me.
If you do this at your lunch hour or what?
Pardon?
You do this at your lunch hour at your
I do
desk?
the, it's on a different, on hopefully alternating Monday nights. So I think that is an ongoing, I would agree with that. Yeah,
So does that remain priority one?
yeah, I think so. I can't write on here.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if we're gonna do this, maybe there's one person who should,
I'll take the news.
yeah, who can actually type it into, either type it in the spreadsheet or. type it in the sheet.
Let me just raise a question on the priorities.
Yep,
It strikes me that there are at least two factors that should go into priority. The one is obviously the importance of the subject. But the question, the next priority is what's going to be required to accomplish. And it can be very important. But if it's like planning for the Iran war, it's a very different thing than accomplishing.
right.
And I think both of those need to be taken into account.
How do we do that?
Issue size.
Science, well, so the natural resources have been identified.
Is it done?
It's just, they've been identified, it's in the report,
Done.
it's done. The action is to support the implementation. That's on.
I mean, that seems like the kind of thing that'll sort of be ongoing forever. And in any case, maybe the key thing is more just kind of what comments we write for the.
Maybe we move on to the next one, SC.
Matt, where do I find that Duxbury Climate Vulnerability Assessment and Action Plan?
It's on the.
So I'm not sure if that was the last MVP plan, or if that was, do you know what that was, even what that plan was?
It was an MVP plan. They're on the website.
Yeah, if you.
It's on the website.
If you look under the planning board, under the coastal resiliency task force, there's a long list of documents, legal studies.
Yeah.
Substantiation, we're gonna refer to in the.
Is that the same thing though, Emily? Yes, okay. Yeah.
It's kind of confusing because they decided to call it something else instead of just calling it the municipal vulnerability preparedness plan, which is what it really is.
All right, the next one is action item SC 121 F3. The action is to pursue grant and perform study for Snug Harbor. I believe that that's underway, correct?
Yeah, we have them. An elevation.
So that it's ongoing.
Yeah, I guess it's still, I mean, for that one, I guess the comments would be that, FOF prepared a proposed design, proposed project. And but it's just a question of trying to get funding, from the town to actually, even though it would only be like a certain percentage, whatever the state would pitch in a percentage to. That's sort of gonna be the challenge to actually try to get the funding from the town to support it.
But I thought that we have, every year we set aside $250,000 for matching grants, isn't this money some of that? Yeah, but we said that, isn't that your mark for this Snug Harbor study?
I don't think so. Well, I guess the study's been done, so it's at
What
this.
is next?
Yeah. I mean, when I was going through the whole budget process back in. Whatever it was, a few months ago. I just didn't get the impression. from anybody, that the town or anybody who's actually has control of the budget. That the town would, at this point in time, would really be willing to put the money towards this. And I don't know, as far as what you're saying, I don't know what happens with all that money. Maybe it's been dedicated to other things, or maybe other things are deemed as higher priorities. I think it makes sense. I mean, the feedback I got from most people was that people did agree that this is a worthy project that in the long run they would like to pursue, if only they had the money.
Okay.
But,
So maybe there's an action item there.
What the subject is?
Find out the status of matching grant funding for Duxbury to further pursue this. I think is it pursuing the engineering part or the implementation part?
I think at this point it would be implementation. I think. Oh, actually, maybe there might be, I forget what, he might only be at a certain percentage of the design. Maybe it's only. It might only be like at 25% or 75% of the design being completed yet. So in that sense, maybe it's still some engineering to be done.
All right, next up is F4. There are 4 items, like them all, H111, H51, H522, and H531. This is a zoning. Consider modifying neighborhood business districts to encourage upper level housing units by removing the special permit requirement and the maximum 2-bedroom restriction, but retaining site plan review.
Doesn't this need to be thoroughly rethought in view of the accessory dwelling laws?
No, I don't think so.
I think this is a different kind of thing.
This is to support,
Well, if it's diversifying options to support aging population and affordability, I frankly would disagree on that.
so it's 2, I think, really.
Because I think these would be probably more for maybe mixed use projects or, I don't know, I mean, we do have the special rule. And we just approved, maybe 6 months ago, a project was approved. Where you can put. Yeah, I think it's 2 apartment units or two residential units above the business. I'd have to look back at this a little while, but I mean, I mean, one nice thing about this, Nick, is that it's very precise. It's a very precise action item.
But if I'm looking at H1, the housing options to support an aging population, I would, being part of that population, I would say that the accessory dwelling is a very important part of that. Because that is a way that someone can basically stay in their quote home, since accessory dwellings are no longer required to be attached.
Yes, and Jim, that is actually, but you make a good point, that the accessory dwelling units are in F5. So I think that is, I think that this particular instance, it is more about the HBD, the NBD, the neighborhood business district. And then the next one went a little bit further down, is about the AC ADUs.
Are we doing anything about loosening the requirements on the above store units? It seems to me I read that somewhere
Well, I
recently.
think, Matthew, do you want to take, so do we would have to take that action item? Could you dig into that change? You think that there might be a change about that?
Are we talking about the 4 action items there, the upper level housing units?
Yes.
No, I don't think it's been changed. I remember that
I read something.
we recently, I think, approved,
Proposed.
what was the address?
It was on all, it was all.
On Tremont. Like, yeah, so
Yeah,
it
they
was
took the building down already.
Yeah,
I don't know what the address was.
Remind me, what was the business they're proposing on the ground floor?
bridal store?
Yeah, I think it was a bridal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
And then two, but then, two, well, probably
Building
apartments on the
next
second
Fort Worth,
floor.
so
But I think they
Down
just
the
did it
street.
through the current zoning
It's
bylaw.
the same side. Down the street, so, right, same side, down the street, right next to Bennett's.
Yeah.
yeah, across the street from Sam's Gas.
Yes.
Yeah,
Used to be the flower.
yeah.
Yes.
I guess in terms of the mechanics of this, the NBDs, because there are several action items that relate to MBDs as really the, in planning terms, the only opportunities for economic growth in the town associated. So since we have inclusionary zoning and it's on our agenda for action. And, the whole principle or concept of creating more rental units, essentially, as inclusionary units. Those things are kind of aligned, so there's a rationale to look at the NBD residential zoning restrictions under inclusionary. When we get
Over here, so
this year.
it's on the list. It's on the list.
And on this subject, and I'm gonna just, little sidebar, I've been trying to internalize this and think about this, and several of the tasks related to NBDs. Identify the fact that one of the constraining factors is septic. Without shared sewer, private septic, trying to add more housing and a business, it falls over pretty quickly. And so there are action items, and I don't know, they actually line up because sometimes they get scrambled. But I'm working on I guess a proposal to put together a mechanism to assist the town in realizing the potential of the NBD. But it requires, several moving parts to be addressed at once. And they're scattered throughout this action plan. So this is maybe a story that we can put together to show how, it looks like 253 individual tasks. But when you actually put it all on the table and look at the town and look at zoning, there's only a couple of levers that we have that we're able to twist up and down and up stick and turn. So put it through that lens. And it kind of simplifies the whole thing. But the mechanism I'm walking around and not talking about directly has to do with expanding the NBD with the full consultation and consent of all of the abutters, fundamentally. Because the problem is the NBDs are too small. It's not enough activity, there's not enough anything going on there to support a shared septic system. So it's a chicken and egg, right? So if there's a way for the town to set out administrative procedures that the town approves of, the town meeting, say, yeah, we want to do this. Making a certain set of very carefully crafted changes would allow the town to knock off a bunch of these action items and tee up some potential beneficial. And that's kind of my pitch. I don't have it really documented yet. It's something that the planning board wants to pursue. Kind of crank on that and make it.
So you're thinking about maybe to push the outer edges of the CBDs to allow
Well, it's-
more.
I'm not thinking about it, but I'm wondering if the business owners and the residents wanted to do that. How could we make it something that they can see as possible? Because right now everything's so small. That's what we want. That's what we want. I'm not saying we can change it for the sake of changing it, but I'm saying if people understand that there could be benefits to the town of allowing some growth in a very Duxbury way. That's part of the storytelling aspect of it right now.
Let's keep talking.
Just a
Things we're taking.
potential food for thought. Should what we allow above business units be similar to what the law now allows and requires us to allow for accessory dwelling units?
As far as the
Simply a
size.
question, simply a question,
Oh, you mean size wise per?
just general, or should they be entirely different?
Well, the ADU is a residential animal, whereas this is really mixed.
Yeah,
use.
I know, but basically there are limitations on what an ADU can be. Do those limitations make sense not only for the accessory dwelling unit, detached or not detached, but also for the above commercial? I don't know the answer. I haven't looked at it in detail, but it strikes me as a question that's worth looking into or considering.
Yeah, and certainly picking off existing laws rather than writing new ones is always.
Always desirable.
Oh, yeah.
All right, why don't we keep trucking down the list? Next is F5, H112, H521. And this is undertake a district planning process of each neighborhood business district to determine characteristics and zoning modifications for each district, similar to recent studies in Falls Corner. This would be things like foster new housing types such as mixed-use housing, encourage the redevelopment of single-story commercial buildings into multiple stories. Then include ground floor commercial uses and upper floor residential units and NBDs like Falls Corner, Snow Harbor, Milton. The last comments back in 2023, we're looking for
Buildings
grant.
across the street. Brothers.
Do we have anything, any comments here? We haven't really made any progress here. Going down the list now, just to get familiar. Okay. All right, next, F6.
Yeah.
You don't want to put any update on that?
H113, study district wastewater treatment for options for NBDs, including potential build out that could be supported by wastewater system capacity.
Why don't we solve our water problems first?
Oh,
We got serious well problems and how much water we got available. I wouldn't get into what we can do.
I think
What's
this is more,
important until we know what the water department can do, but they've got real issues in providing the water simply for the existing tank.
well, I think this isn't the water in, this is the water out.
I thought the.
Water, no, I don't think. Well, if you can figure out how to get water out without getting water in, you're a miracle maker.
I think the problem is there's no way to cite a wastewater treatment. Yeah.
Yes.
Find me a spot in a neighborhood business district in town that has the space to put in a wastewater treatment plant.
That's why we ran it up to
I'll
where,
tell you a bridge somewhere in Kansas on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
water, right?
and where did we run the wastewater from Snug Harbor?
That's up at the yacht club.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I guess Millbrook is by the Oysterman, but it's pumped out a lot. I don't know about Falls Corner, I think that might be on a property by. I'm not sure. All right, next up, F7, H114, E323, L533. This is explore business improvement districts or other funding mechanisms that could share joint district infrastructure costs and benefits across properties. Explore the benefits of business improvement districts for the NBD. This is self-funded and managed organization would allow property owners to address issues and improvements collectively. And if supported, explore and propose a mechanism to develop infrastructure with property owners. Such as BID, tax increment, financing.
Who's paying?
Maybe we'll keep going down just to keep refreshing. Maybe give it 5 more minutes. Next up, F9, H551. This is to establish incentives such as expedited permitting, waiver or reduction of filing fees, building and occupancy permits, and or utility connection fees in tandem with any recommended zoning changes.
I have a question for, actually, it's probably for Jim Wazalewski. Would waiver or reduction of filing fees make any difference?
Maybe it's just to me, but that's a good question. Could we make that an action item? For Matthew to follow up with Jim and ask, in this instance of H551. Would any waiver reduction of filing fees?
Utility connection fees, that's money out of pocket for the water department.
Yeah.
That's real money.
Would that help? Streamline. the process?
So
Okay,
just
Well,
ask
it's just
Jim,
expedited permitting too.
expedited, would help. Maybe that will.
That would help.
Well, the problem with expedited permitting is there a process that people should go through in reviewing it and proving it. And when you expedite it, you raise the risk of seriously undercutting the effectiveness of that process. I wouldn't experience would tell me that's not something you want to do until you thought it through very, very carefully.
So is there a way to be more efficient?
But find out and ask the question, but basically, when you expedite things, that's when safety goes to hell.
And so Matthew, it's about H551. Could ask Jim.
Yeah. I'm sorry, for the other action item, was that for the one about the residential units above business, or I wasn't quite clear what? Like, I mean, I guess that one, like, or was it, I mean, like, for that, I mean, I guess it's just up to you folks if you actually want to pursue changing that sort of value.
Not this year.
But yeah,
Like I said, I'm sharing for now.
Yeah, let's definitely bring that up. There. Where are we now? Wastewater sport business. No, F7.
Just on this one.
F7. H114. We did just do this one. Okay. Next one, H551. That we already, okay, now we're moving on. Okay. F10, E142. Integrate pedestrian and bicycle enhancements into site plan review and development approvals and NBDs. We're starting to see some more enhancements as far as sidewalks. We really haven't had very many opportunities for any developments in NBDs lately to ask for any.
No, and this also, I think, needs to be done in conjunction with highway safety. And sidewalks, as we all know, are extraordinarily expensive.
So the whole corner, working on right now, they just presented. But I missed a meeting, but we did design.
yeah.
Actually, it's a plan to try to make Falls Corner better than this right now.
Yes.
Love to hear what they have, what you've been working on.
Actually, there are people working on this for Falls Corner right now.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. It's like,
So this is in progress, at least.
yeah, so that's in progress.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, it'll, if it happens, it'll take a long time.
Yeah.
But the objective definitely is to make Hall's Corner a little more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. It's not a dramatic change that's being proposed, but definitely to, you know, to slow cars down at certain points a tiny bit, help pedestrians create a little bit more sidewalks that people walk on and better crosswalks. More crosswalks, just to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
To make it a more pedestrian friendly place. And, you know, hopefully it's something that we can do throughout the town. I mean, over a very long period of time to do throughout.
Anybody been up to the Halls Corner stores, say between about 2:30 and 5 recently? And counted the number of kids' bicycles?
Well, that
That are all over the place.
That was
That are
because-
driving all of these store owners absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
That are costing them business, that are almost running into people who are going from store to store. We've got a serious bicycle problem up there right now.
yeah, I can.
Well, it came to a head on bike to school day. I was there on bike.
Well, Yeah, but it's been built and I haven't seen it reduce.
Okay, I think we're on 12, let's get to 15. L131, this is revisit inclusionary housing provision of the zoning bylaw. That is on the docket for the bylaw committee, so that's in progress, I would say. Next one, F13 is L132, explore a density bonus for residential cluster development. That's also an inclusionary discussion, so that's in process. F14, O241, develop a townwide stormwater management bylaw and stormwater design guidelines that encourage small scale hydrologic controls such as rain gardens, free roofs, or porous pavement, among others.
So,
Do we have the stormwater management bylaw? Did that get updated recently?
I think so, yeah. I think it might have been right before I started working here. There's I think it's in the part of it's in the general bylaws, I think, and then it's referred to in the general bylaws, and it's mostly a separate document as well. I think I've got a copy here, actually. But yeah, I mean, as far as LID, I don't know to what extent the current one or the new one references LID.
Low impact,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Didn't call them.
working with nature instead of.
So, yeah, so like rain gardens and swales
Okay.
and forest pavement are all regarded as various LID kind of tactics. For, you know, instead of just allowing the stormwater to drain into the conventional drainage pipes and then sort of all this oil and other stuff that it, you know, gets into streams. But I mean, it looks as though, from what I see here, it seems as though in 2023, they marked this one as completed.
Yeah.
So maybe the stormwater regs did
Yeah.
include it, or maybe some other fashion.
Take the win.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we got to win. All right, last one. That's right, F 15, feel like I'm playing bingo. Vote 331. Provide an itinerant inventory of CPA funded projects with project location, description and community benefits. Oh, that's a CBC, sorry.
Doesn't the next column say their CBC?
Yeah,
He's gonna
we'll
do
skip
that.
down to zero.
That's why those ones are.
Last one, 0272, under F 17. Explore shoreline development guidelines to improve the resilience of coastal development, including shoreline treatments, natural flood mitigation, increased building setbacks and elevated buildings. So the CRTF has definitely got that in its
Yep.
crosshairs, so I would say that's in progress.
Yeah, it looks like that's kind of the comment from 2023. You know, assigning it to the CRTF.
All right, is everybody good for tonight?
Yep.
All right. Well, I think this is hopefully helpful to continue, so we just keep going, taking chunks of this and keep going down and seeing where we're getting a status, and once we get a status of everything, we can figure out what our priorities are. Since everything's a one, we'll prioritize them. That sound good?
So should I put this, I guess I should put this again on the next agenda, unless it's really crowded. I think it is helpful, just to spend a little time, looking back on what these all actually has from the plan of 7 years, 6 years ago. And just,
I'm a little concerned that we're not, that's, because I have a copy here where I separated out just the L's, the land use and zoning. That's clearly a bailiwick. And this is. A lot of things you mentioned, but they're all L like that. Those are inches. So. I'm sure, these might.
So we stopped at. The document I'm looking at is sort of by priority, we stopped at, F. Let's see, 17.
17, yeah.
Thank you. All right, well, good work to you. So before we close, anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Anybody put a nomination for the open seat?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we've actually had a couple people submit. At least one person submitted some info.
Yeah, I think only one person has actually submitted the application specifically for the open seat.
Do you know who it was?
I don't know if it's appropriate to like.
If they submitted a paper that's a public record, who is?
Yeah, it's definitely public record, yeah.
So who is?
I just feel a little cautious because it's more appropriate, I think, for the planning board to discuss it at the meeting with the joint meeting with the select board.
Okay, then I'll call Renee and ask.
I mean, I could,
Give me a break.
I can email it to you.
Please do.
So is it only been one?
But just, if I do email it to you, just please don't send it to the whole board or share with anybody.
So Matthew, I'm wondering if we only received one, we haven't received any others.
I think only the one. Yeah. It's the one. I mean, definitely, we've had queries from a few other people and there was the talent bank stuff and so on, but as far as specific application, it's usually only one. But the deadline is I think May 22nd, next Friday, so.
Okay.
I imagine there, if we do get a few more, they could easily all come on the 21st and the 22nd, just kind of human nature. I mean, I guess that's what's hard to predict. Are we gonna only get 1 or 2, or are we gonna get 5 or 6?
Yeah.
From what I understand, in previous years.
But it's usually 3 to 6.
Yeah.
If it's only one, do they automatically?
No, we don't have to accept them.
That's a good question.
We don't find it acceptable. I don't see anything that would require us to accept the applicant.
Yeah, that could be a question for town council. I mean, from what I remember of MGL, it was a little bit ambiguous about that, so, yes. But hopefully it won't be an issue.
I hope not.
I guess I'm allowed to say that.
All right, yes, I think it was. Oh, so Emily posted it on the planning board Facebook page, and I wanted to post it into Duxbury, helping Duxbury, but I couldn't figure out how to, couldn't share it. Do you know if is there a way to make things shareable?
Is there a way to put it somewhere
Maybe
there that
I don't know.
I have nothing to do with any of those pages?
Okay.
So if you're gonna put it anywhere I can read it, you've got to find it. I do none of this.
Well, then that's okay, then you're not the audience, right?
But it's information that's being posted, I would
Yes.
like to see.
Would you have access to Facebook?
No, I intend not to have it.
Kids have access?
I'm not going to impose this on my kids.
I didn't know we had a planning.
I don't use Facebook either, actually.
We started it for MBTA.
We started a Facebook page. for-
Yeah.
What's it? Duxbury resident? Planning board?
Emily, what is the site, do you remember?
There's a link to it on the website.
Yeah, I think for the planning board or the planning department's webpage, there's a link to that faith, and that's the only reason I was aware of it, is because there's that link, yeah. But it's definitely not used. I think it's fair to say we haven't used that Facebook page very often over the years, at least over the past year or two anyway. And I have no idea like how many people out there, my guess is not very many, like how many people out there actually looking at our Facebook page. Probably not better if it was say Taylor Swift or whatever, you know.
Duxbury, planning.
Parts of it.
So it's not
Pretty
shareable.
excited.
There it is.
There was an email blast on this vacancy, was there not? I thought I remember.
Yeah, it was in the paper, it was- yeah.
Both, it was in the paper and.
We saw it in the clip.
We asked her to make that one. post.
I mean, we did, I mean, we posted it twice, just a few days ago, actually, we posted it again on the town news, that town news thing. You know, I guess it goes on the town's website and also gets sent out to, I don't know how many people are signed up for that, but to a fair number of people. It's been the Duxbury Clipper like 2 or 3 times, I think. And definitely some people see it there, so I think we've distributed about as much as well, I mean, I'm sure we could do more, but we've done a pretty good job, I think, of distributing and making people aware of it.
Hopefully it's.
I hope so.
I got it, Duxbury, Duxbury.
Yeah, his comments are off.
I know.
But I mean, you could always, I mean, if anybody is on Duxbury, up in Duxbury, they could, I suppose, easily just kind of post the text of or just say, you know, go to this web page to see the description or something. Like, it doesn't have to be like linking to our Facebook page. It could just be a post that says, you know, here's an opportunity. Go to this website to learn more.
It's listed in
What
the.
did you say, Matthew, if you're interested in.
And I think just those words alone, you know, if you're interested in general. Spark millions of people to. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, just maybe to like, if you're interested, there's a vacancy on the Duxbury Planning Board, if you're interested. Great chance to help the town, if you're interested, go to this page or contact Matthew. As it is posted just on the town's website, there's a, you know, it's posted as a PDF. I think the link is from the planning department.
Yep,
Yep,
yes, right there.
Steve has it up now.
Oh, so here's the link to the Facebook page, well, you know, Facebook, you're not gonna get out there anyway. But here's what it looks like.
Top two links on the planning board page are.
It is quite possible that there are already like a dozen people out there who are planning to apply on May 22nd or May 21st, and maybe half of them will,
They'll
so.
swoop in at the last moment, right?
What?
They'll swoop in at the last moment.
Yeah, or then, but then again, it's possible that nobody else is. gonna apply.
Yeah, how do we make a splash next week?
All right, anything else, anybody?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna ask for abstentions for. All right, thank you, everyone.